Welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at MarketSurge.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge. Today we're joined by Jonathan Aberman, a venture capitalist with more than 25 years experience launching over 40 technology companies, including his present company, Hupside. He's now building in the AI space himself, and his thesis is provocative. AI is dramatically increasing marketing efficiency, but at the same time, it's driving strategic sameness. In a world where everyone has access to the same tools, the same prompts, and the same output, how do you build durable differentiation? How do you avoid becoming commoditized? And what does real strategic advantage look like in an AI-saturated market? Jonathan, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you.
Well, with that setup, I just hope I can deliver content consistent with that great intro. Thank you for that, Reed. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, where to start? I would love to hear about Hupside and what's the premise behind it? What is the product and what drove its inception?
Well, so a little bit of a background.
Please.
I've been around the venture industry and software for quite a long while, and I've also had my feet in education, higher education as well. And it became very apparent to me over the last 5 years in particular that the competency of machine learning, which is really what artificial intelligence is based on, was becoming more and more competent. And the issue of substitution for humans and processes was only going to become more profound, right? And so I very much have been concerned about that as an educator. Actually helped launch a business school here in the DC region that combined art and design and computer science and business in the same curriculum for that exact reason. And over the last few years, I've been investing in a lot of businesses around market spaces, marketplaces, and a lot of them were using AI in different ways. So I was very much involved in the AI industry development after the development of the large language models. And I became really concerned about what people are going to do if the so-called promise of AI comes to fruition. What's the role of humans? And I was thinking about that. I stumbled into a couple of professors here in the DC region who had invented a way to identify and quantify human creativity performance in an objective way. And they were using it, a couple of universities were using it to start to understand the originality in students' incoming essays. And what they were learning was that originality was a better predictor of collegiate performance in grades or SATs. And it was a better predictor of whether or not you'd graduate. It was a better predictor of whether or not you'd stay in school.
Okay.
And, this was a multi-year study, peer-reviewed, and I got very interested in that. And what happened was I went from interested in it to committed, and meaning that I started out as an investor putting the deal together. And the more that I saw how this technology could answer economically the question of the value of humans, the more I decided I wanted to make this my mission rather as an investor to actually be the founder. So I invited the scientists to join me in the company and alongside another experienced founder, and we started Hupside about 9 months ago. And we've been in the market for about 2.5 months, and we're seeing pretty rapid adoption for a startup because our product, going from background and mission, our product it provides a very, very simple way for you to have somebody play goofy little creativity challenges in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And you can literally surface objectively how they approach using their own competency for originality to solve problems. And we can also surface what kind of organizational constraints in their current job prevent them from exercising that. So it's incredibly useful in education. It's incredibly useful in change management. It's incredibly useful in talent. And basically, everywhere where you want to figure out how humans can work with AI, we provide a benchmark because you objectively see how somebody uses originality, but you also see how it compares to how AI would answer the same question.
Wow.
So it's hugely important. And, I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but it's one of these interesting opportunities you have if you're lucky as an investor or as a founder to truly get involved in something that could be world-changing in a real significant way. And there are days I feel like I've got the tiger by the tail,
Yeah.
but it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Well, so to continue to keep it high level, because I love this like high level concept you have, people are scared of AI. Many are scared of AI and the threat of it taking their occupation or infringing on their occupation. A lot of white collar workers and perhaps others in different realms. And now you've mentioned originality as like the key human contributor in this new environment. Now, is there a threat that AI's increased competency can outpace us in originality? Like, is that something that we could forecast? Or do you think that will be an
Well,
enduring differentiator for humans?
what's interesting is so the view of my scientific team, who are a lot deeper into this than I am.
Mhm.
I just play an inventor on television.
Sure.
The problem with the science of large language models and the generative AI applications is that fundamentally they are not thinking machines. They are probabilistic tools that are used to embed and then pull back content and see associations. So right out of the box, you have this issue of they're retrospectively looking. They're not prospectively looking. They're only looking backward. And then this means that you just fundamentally have a problem, which is that novelty, which is something that's new, true novelty can only really occur when somebody has the ability to think past the past and think towards the future. That's number one. So you start out with this structural issue. But the more insidious problem, and the one that's not being discussed as much as it should, is that these models create sameness of output. We see this already. We call it work slop. We call it, oh my God, LinkedIn is full of stuff that's just, I'm bored reading all this stuff.
Right.
The AI creates similarity because the way it creates sameness at scale. That means that the more that people rely on AI, the more that they get drawn to the sameness of AI. That's number one. Number two, if that wasn't bad enough, the large language models have now run out of human data to measure, to store, to train. So they're now using artificial intelligence generated content to train the models. And what our scientists have found and others are now seeing is that AI prefers AI generated content when you give it training materials. So literally, we call that AI narcissism. And so the point of AI, so you have sameness amplified by sameness. So what this means is that you have an unbelievably useful technology at doing the predictable. The disadvantage is that if you think that that substitutes for differentiation, you are on a fool's errand because it may seem novel to you, but it's not novel to everybody else. It's shared novelty. So you say, all right, well, if that in fact is the world that we're living in, Jonathan, what does that mean for people? Well, the good news is that people have two fundamental drivers of behavior when you cut through it all. They seek safety and they seek novelty. Think about, you can explain everything about human nature in those two things. I mean, you're in marketing, you understand this.
Sure.
People consume novelty and novelty makes them feel good because it makes them feel special. Well, humans value novelty and we create novelty all day long. We just don't think about it that way. And how this all fits together is original intelligence is a brand new metric, frankly, a brand new category, because we decided that there needed to be an objective measurement of when people exercise originality, how do they move the needle, where there's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
In other words, you can be somebody who is highly expansive, that we call an expander in our methodology, who thinks of new stuff all the time, literally can't stop. Right?
Yeah.
We think about originality like Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen, never took a lesson, are geniuses. Well, there are about 10% of a population to that. There's about 30% that are focals. Focals use their originality just to get stuff done. Don't distract me. So the analogy, I'm a musician, I'm a guitarist. The analogy I use is an expander is Hendrix or Van Halen. The focal is the person you hear at the blues, at the club band that can play every note of Eddie Van Halen's solo perfectly, but couldn't have figured it out himself. They're both using creativity. They're both original, just in highly different ways. And so the point of all this is that we all have the ability to create something that AI can't. And as tool users, if we frame AI as a tool instead of a substitute, we can actually drive it to make us better at originality.
Okay.
You
Interesting.
follow me?
I do.
Think about, I bet you use AI this way, and many of your listeners do, I know I do, I don't use it as a savant.
Right.
I use it as a tool. I say, do better, do better, do better. Here's more content. I mean, we're having a dialogue, and the output that I get is better than I would have gotten on my own. It's more original,
Right.
but the originality and the expansion that's occurring is happening here in my head, not in some cloud someplace in a server farm.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that we need to reframe our conversation around AI as fast as we can to acknowledge economically, it is an efficiency tool. God bless.
Yeah.
It is. But there's always a layer of human originality. Even in a help desk or a bunch of agents, there needs to be somebody adjudicating and figuring out how to manage conflicts or just design the workflow. That has to be original. But as you get into the higher level reasoning, marketing, how to make people do the things you want to do, strategy, much higher component of original intelligence necessary. So I think it's a reframing problem, frankly, as much as anything else.
So, okay. So, I mean, that opens up so many questions I have. Now, from your, maybe just to get a little bit more granular on how your service works, what is the experience, so maybe we could create like a little narrative, like from the user experience, and then maybe from your, like, as an admin or I don't know, client side, like what does that look like? Yeah.
The great thing is, so we've got on the website a way for you to try out both.
Oh, great.
So
Okay.
if you're curious about what it's like to play one of our games, you can go to the website, hupside.com, and play the OIQ challenge. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. And in 5 minutes, you can find out what your OIQ is and what your OIQ type is.
Okay.
It's really kind of fun. And it's actually surprisingly accurate. To the side, I was at CES a few weeks ago, and I made a speech about this. And I said, I said, all right, here's an OIQ challenge we created for CES. I want you all to play it. If any of you get a score and an archetype that's different from how you think you solve problems, I want you to come and see me. I'll give you $20 out of my pocket. And everybody in the audience laughed. Nobody came and asked me for money. This is Vegas, right? I mean, nobody, they all played the game. Nobody, 300, 400 people, none of them came and asked for money. It was like, okay, so that tells you something. But we see that again and again. So you can do that. From the standpoint of the administrator, or the way that it works is a software as a service platform that's designed so that the complexity is hidden from, basically, it's behind the firewall. So for the participant, you get an email, hey, let's play a game. That's all you do. You play the game. You answer some onboarding questions about how much autonomy you have in your job, what's your current role, so we can learn more about you. On the admin side, you come into the platform and you basically say, all right, I want to do a challenge. Okay, I've got 25 questions I can choose from. Okay, I'll pick 3. All right, I'll put the email addresses in for people who want to test. Boom, done.
Wow.
It goes out to the participants. They answer. You have a control panel that you use to see who's taken the tests, who still hasn't taken the tests, what answers they provided. Now, something that's really important to note about that is, even though we're an objective AI model to find divergencies, originality, we don't value the content. We put humans squarely in the loop. So you're the administrator, you look at the answer and decide whether or not the answer was responsive. So if, one of the questions that we ask is, you met a talking cow, what would you ask it? So if somebody answers with a good try, you can say, cool, thank you for respecting it. But if they put in, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, I've never seen a question this dumb, if nobody else ever answered that, that could be an original response.
Sure.
But you might look at it and say, I don't reward that. I want them to do it again, right?
Okay.
So once you get the scores, then what happens is you have the ability to look at people individually or collectively, and you can see their original intelligence, how they approach originality, their archetype, how they think through originality, their level of perceived autonomy in the organization, and how much autonomy is actually in their role. And using those 4 metrics, you can figure out who's going to be trainable to use AI easily, who's going to need more help. You're going to figure out who's going to be an early adopter and create massive compliance risks for you. Who's going to, right? I mean, think about it. Somebody who's an expander, they create, ghost AI. I mean, they're off. They're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm the one who's supposed to use Gemini at work, but geez, Gemini, I don't like Gemini. I want to use Grok.
Right.
And they go up and buy their own subscription, right? And so you got expanders who are doing ghost AI, and the other side you have focal people. You say, here's the tool. They're like, oh, I can finish my work quicker.
Right.
Let's go. And they generate enormous amounts of work slop because
Yeah.
they can't help it.
Right.
They just rely on the AI. So it's an amazingly powerful set of data signals that frankly didn't exist 3 months ago that now do. So that you're seeing the picture, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you think about it.
Yeah.
If you want to approach AI like Hunger Games, right? If you basically want to say, here are the tools, figure it out or you're fired, this probably isn't the right tool for you.
Okay.
This probably is not, you're an autocratic leader, you're interested in just generating labor savings and you don't care about the quality of your output. I'm not going to fight that battle with you. But what I'll tell you is that if you're a servant leader, if you believe that people give you authority after you give it to them, if you believe that an agile organization requires you to have people who can add value, then not to use this product is malpractice, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's that's really what it comes down to. It's look, Reed, I started this company because I care about people. I like people. We're talking
absolutely.
like we know each other a long time. I like people. I care. But what frustrated me about the conversation about technology was AI was presented like it was a deterministic thing, that it's AI, it's human.
Yeah.
This, that. You either are for AI or you're against AI. It's become very politicized, very dogmatic, and very determinative. And I was arguing, well, what about people? And what I was hearing was, that's a social issue. And I'm talking about economics.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a venture capitalist, and I like making money. And I thought to myself, this is business school 101.
Yeah.
How do you compete? Efficiency or value add?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Silicon Valley is trying to suggest the only way businesses compete is efficiency. And what I'm saying is, business school 101, unless you have monopoly power, monopoly pricing power, you compete on differentiation. Where does differentiation come from? People. So now, if you want to have a conversation with me or CEO or you or anybody about economics and value add, or you got a client, it's like, why you and not them? Why me? Because my team are really, really strong, creative, and my team use these tools well. You'll get better output from us.
Yeah.
And you differentiate. That's the mission we're on.
No.
Making an economic argument why people matter.
So this is really fascinating, and I think in a way it is inspiring. I love that you're putting humans back into the real value add of the AI landscape. And so as you're marketing your product, so we're a marketing podcast, so I'm fascinated by this. There is I'm being educated. I'm somebody that works in AI, and some of these are kind of new concepts that I need to think about and learn more about. And how do you work with a product that you have to? There's a little bit of education required before
Absolutely.
buying. What's your methodology for bridging that gap?
Thanks for asking that, because I think that this is a really good venue for us to learn and share.
Yeah.
So, first of all, and this explains one of the reasons why I got involved with this. It's rare in your life as an entrepreneur, you have an opportunity to develop a new category.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And when my co-founder, Eric Baumgartner, and I saw this technology together, it immediately struck us that this is a new category. The idea of measuring objectively human performance in an AI environment is, in fact, a new category. It's ancillary to, say, HR assessment tools. And, for a lot of reasons, by the way, the current assessment tools are all obsolete now because AI can cheat them all. But, it's ancillary, but it's new. And what we both know, and I bet you do too, many listeners, is that when you can take something that's adjacent and pull it into a blue ocean market, that's where greatness occurs. You think about, for example, the iPhone, and how Jobs really didn't invent anything new other than the App Store. Everything else was just a manifestation of existing technology wrapped in design. But he created a new category, the smartphone. So we thought to ourselves, all right, this is a new category. Well, how do you create a new category when you're a startup? It's obviously very difficult. It's much easier to be a startup and just go into a market space that somebody else has defined. And the decision that we made was, the way that you do something like this is you have to claim the category from the beginning. So from the beginning, we thought through, what's our category? Our category is infrastructure to find human performance. Okay, well, that means we have to come up with a name for what we're measuring. All right, Well, creativity is novelty manifest. Creativity is a behavior, but we're not really interested in just measuring behavior. We're interested in measuring outcome. So we need a new term. Okay, creativity plus salience, that's applicable. Creativity, that's originality. So we define the term originality in our minds. Okay, then you back into, all right, what's the process of creating new originality? It's intelligence, original intelligence. All right, now we have a category. We're about people. How do you come up with a name that makes the positive statement that you are about this new thing? Human upside, upside. So from the beginning, start with the brand, you start with the category. And then, you basically have to pursue a couple of different tracks at the same time. The first one is you have to proudly be willing to talk about this new category as if it exists, confidently, and explain why, and be willing and able to be patient enough to have a movement swells, right? Which is what we've been doing. We're fortunate in that the category is emerging around us because people don't necessarily know the category, but every conversation that you're having, that we started with today, AI is substituting for people. The category is emerging. So as a startup, what we have to do is, having defined the category, continue to talk about the category, we have to deliver a product that provides the initial value prop in this broad category. So we made the decision to focus on two areas that we thought we could get customer adoption. The first is universities, because we have an academic background and we're making progress there because there's a huge need for, an AI-proof assessment platform. And the other is organizational change and AI transformation. So our first products are designed to wrap this complexity into something that's consumable. And the path we're on now is we started the company. We started to talk about the category last year. We named the company. We're actively creating content. We're doing research, making headway, like us speaking today. Meanwhile, we're doing the things necessary to start selling a product. Because if you start to sell a product, so what we hope happens over the next 6 to 12 months is that as the awareness of our product grows, the awareness of the company grows, it grows into this market segment that we've basically defined that people are effectively talking about, not talking about. So we're very excited about this. We think this could be, a very explosive thing if everything goes right, obviously. But that's how we're thinking about it. And I bet you can see a lot of lessons learned in your own life there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a playbook. We're just following it.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, this does sound game changing, and I mean, I hear this and I actually feel, like I mentioned before, a little bit of inspiration. It's like, yeah, I mean, like that is originality and novelty. Like those are characteristics I can aspire to and magnify and then, partner and, with AI and be a part of this new world. And, I think that is tremendous. I can see it impacting like the way we educate our children and, a real focus on, exploration and, trying new things and,
What's interesting is I had recently had a couple of conversations with some folks that are really, really deeply involved in spirituality and, on an international level. But spirituality, not from the standpoint of a particular religion, but more around just what is humanity. And they're looking at what we're doing and saying, you've got the most positive message that we have seen so far in the context of economics. But I believe in people, and I believe that we want to matter.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest problems we have right now, the technology's gotten to the point where the technology industry, a long time ago when it started, the homebrew club, I mean, it really was. Technology was designed, they were doing tech to make the world a better place. It wasn't just narrative. It wasn't just marketing, don't be evil. It was real and true. And I've been involved in Silicon Valley for a long time. And, I think they've gone from being motivated on truly trying to figure out a way to empower people to be better than they are to using those words while in fact they're engaging in business models that are designed to basically capture as much of the value chain as they possibly can for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think, to be blunt, that is creating a lot of political backlash. It's creating a lot of social backlash, a lot of anxiety. And I'm not surprised to see that people want a positive message because fundamentally society is about us. It's not about the tech we build. It's about us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I agree with everything you've said, and I love this positivity. Jonathan, if people would like to work with you, I mean, you're a tremendous podcast guest, but also, if they'd like to enlist Hupside in, helping their organization thrive,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, where can they reach you?
Well, I can be reached at jonathan@hupside.com. But more importantly, we're making this as easy as possible for people who experience technology. So anybody, you can go to the website, hupside.com, and on the website is the OIQ challenge. You can try it out for yourself. It's free. And there's also a free version of our enterprise product. It doesn't have as many prompts as enterprise version has. You can only play with 10 people at a time, but it's the same fundamental product. We actually, as we roll out improvements, we roll it into the free app as well.
Awesome.
And you can try it out with unlimited times with 10 people at a time. And we think that there's a movement to be created. And we feel pretty strongly that if people use this and see it for themselves, we'll find more than enough enterprises and universities and people are going to want to buy the product, that we can make a good living and make a big company and have a positive influence.
Well, Jonathan, this was a really great message, and I'm excited to learn more about Hupside. I'm going to take try the free version. I'm excited about it, and thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk with your audience. This is, as you know, this is how you define a category.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to MarketSurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's MarketSurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.